I am Vinny Todorich, folks. Your good intentions have been stolen. But don't worry, I'm here to help you get them back. You may be soft and succulent at the beginning of this process, but hang in there. Before long, you will be lean and mean, guaranteed, just like our guest on today's show. I'm talking about the beautiful Miss Treva Brandon Scharf. Yeah. Yeah. So, Treva,
Yes.
wow. Do you remember that we went to that movie together in 1994?
I went to see Forrest Gump with you.
We saw Forrest Gump
How
together.
do you remember that?
My mother always asked the same questions. I have a partial photographic memory. I say partial because I remember everything I read. That's why I'm able to regurgitate. We've done almost 2,500 shows here, and people are like, "Where's all that?" You must just read all night to get, and write notes. I've done every one of these podcasts without one note, not one note in front of me. And the reason being is because I can tell you everything I read back in college or high school or any other time, but I also have a partial memory as to who I was with and where I was when Forrest Gump, that's probably the most quotable movie quote of all times. Wouldn't you say?
I'm still back on you. You remember you saw it with me. I remember years by boyfriends. So if you could say, if you said
Really?
to me, what happened in 1994? I'd say, I don't know. I dated you.
That's right. And folks, that's what we're going to be talking about today. Not just, look, you guys are getting some insight because everyone wants to know who I was back in the day. What was it like back in the day? This woman actually knew me back in the day, but she is also here because after we talk about us for probably an hour, we'll spend 15 minutes because this woman can actually help you. She's written a book. Hold that book up, Trevor. She's written a book, Done Being Single by Treva Brandon Scharf. It's going to be in the Vinny bookstore. I will read it at some point and we'll put it in the bookstore. Debbie, I think Debbie does that. So Debbie, make sure that we put Treva Brandon's book in the bookstore. But more so than that, we're going to talk about relationships and we're going to talk about everything Treva has done over the past 30 years since our last date. So how does that sound, Treva?
I love it. I can see your apartment like it was yesterday. It's vivid. I know, and it's still there, that building. And there's not a time that I drive by it that I don't think about you.
I was still living on right there next to, folks, just to let you know, I was right in Beverly Hills. Across the street was Chasen's, the famous Chasen's restaurant.
Yes,
right?
Which is now Bristol Farms.
It's Bristol Farms. Chasen's was a famous restaurant. Right down the street was Whiskey A Go Go. What else was right there on the corner of West Hollywood? There was a few of those.
Troubadour.
Troubadour.
It's like right there on the edge of West Hollywood, Beverly Hills, right on the border of Beverly Hills and West Hollywood.
Yeah. Yeah, and all of the stuff, all of the rock and roll stuff was happening right there.
Yeah,
and that was
in your
my first
apartment
place.
it was happening.
Yeah. Hey, we're going to talk about that stuff. Maybe we do. The crazy part is, Trevor, and I don't know if you know this, but I got to Hollywood. I didn't go there to become a model or an actor or anything else. I had, dreams of taking all this fitness knowledge and I wanted to start children's fitness in LA. And I had these ideas I brought with me from New Orleans. And, I got laughed out of the offices several times at Nickelodeon and Disney because I would walk in and I would say, listen, kids are getting heavy. I knew this 35 years ago when I got there. Kids are getting heavy and we need to do something. And they were all in. And they said, well, what do you think we should do? And I said, we got to get them off of sodas and Gatorade and cereal and fruit roll-ups. And they would just laugh me out of the office.
Mm-hmm.
right? I saw this coming back then. And then when I figured out I couldn't make a dime, and I didn't know anyone, so I couldn't really get my training business started on day one. An actress, you may remember this girl. Remember Alexandra Paul?
Yes, Baywatch. Uh-huh.
Baywatch. But before Baywatch, she was the Virgin Connie Swales in the remake of Dragnet, and she
Mm-hmm.
was in
Mm-hmm.
that movie with Kevin
Mm-hmm.
Costner, the bike riding
Mm-hmm.
movie,
Mm-hmm.
and the whole thing. She and I were early friends when I moved there, and she said, you could be a model. And I was 29 when I got there. I was like, no, don't you have to be like a little skinny twerp and look emaciated? She was like, no, no, no. This is Hollywood. Your abs. We were at the stairs in Santa Monica one day. She was like, your abs can make a lot of money. I was like, you're kidding. So I got an agency, and I did that from 1991 until about 93. But by then, my business had grown. So you can't go on go sees all day long when you have clients that are paying you good money, right? So I got out of the
Mm-hmm.
business. And then a mutual friend of ours said, why don't you just do big commercials? And I said, no one's paying me to do, they're paying me to do Dos Equis ads down in Mexico. No one's going to pay me to do, a big giant, national commercial. But as you know, one national commercial back in those days can make you a lot of
Mm-hmm.
money. And she introduced me to your
Mm-hmm.
mom. Is that about the
Uh-huh.
size of
Uh-huh.
it?
That's exactly how it happened.
I went in. I went into what was the agency called,
Commercials
Trevor?
Unlimited.
Commercials
Mm-hmm.
Unlimited. I walked into that office and I did two things that day. I secured myself a contract with Commercials Unlimited, and I got a date with the daughter of the woman who owned the agency. And that's how we met, right? I mean, we met that
Yep.
day.
Yep.
Yeah. And so you take it from there. What happens after that? We went out at some point, right? A few
Yeah, a
times.
few times. It was super fun. You're hilarious, good looking, and an athlete, and so was I. So we
Yeah.
we bonded on that. I remember you it, when you'd get up sometimes like early in the morning, or just sometimes you'd walk around and your ankles and your feet would hurt. That's what I remember. Like ow, like ouch, ouch, walking, ouch. Do you remember that? Do you like and I thought, oh my God, because later in life I felt that when I thought, oh my gosh, he is either got really old joints and I don't know what, or he's a super.
Yeah.
I mean, you probably worked out like a maniac, and yeah, in the mornings how your joints hurt so bad, right?
You should see it
Okay,
now.
so yeah,
Bad.
no, I'm there. I'm there with you because now mine do. In the morning, I walk like Frankenstein. So okay, so back to me. So after, let's see, I worked for my mom for a little bit, and I had always been kind of in the fitness business. I had always taught group fitness classes, never really seriously, but just as a fun hobby.
Yeah.
And before I worked for my mom, I was a copywriter right out of college. I was an advertising copywriter and took a little break to work for my mom and then went back into advertising. And at the same time, I really started to teach a lot around LA, group fitness classes at Barry's Boot Camp and Sports
Yeah.
Club, which became Equinox. And during this time at Barry's Boot Camp, I met a fellow teacher who gave me her private client, and I had never done one-on-ones before. So I took this woman on and did good work with her, and it kind of changed my life because then all her friends wanted to train with me, and then I just transitioned into full-time fitness. And I did that for just over 20 years. And then in about 2018, I got my life coaching credentials. I should mention during this whole time, I'm still single. Okay. So not
But
married.
let's So when we were dating, you know, you were, I knew you were always interested in running. You were always going to the gym. I mean, phenomenal body, phenomenal fitness. I think all we talked about was fitness, and we were like fitness nerds. And when, and folks, by the way, Trevor and I didn't have a breakup. This just happens in Beverly Hills. Like, you're dating, and then for whatever reason, like a mutation happens, and you go away from each other. Is that the best way you can put it? Like, we never said,
No,
screw you, I never
no,
want
no,
to see
no,
you
no,
again,
no. There
right?
was never like a breakup, or it just sort of, it was, I guess, fun, and it played itself out. And you're great. I mean,
Yeah,
no, don't take it personally.
same
Don't.
here. Oh, no, do not look, you
Yeah,
too.
no,
It's like we were dating and we weren't
right.
dating, and it didn't. It was just LA. And when people go, well, wait, you guys liked each other? Yeah, everything else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, what happened? Don't
It's
know.
not, yeah, but
You
it's
move
not
on.
necessarily an LA thing. I think it's just a timing thing. And you could say that wherever you live, people just are ready when they're ready, right? You can't, it's
Yeah.
just your timeline, and whenever you're ready. And it wasn't my time, it wasn't your time. And it took many, many more years. So after you and I kind of drifted or lost contact, I continued to stay single and date. And
But you became a trainer. Wait, we're going to get into the dating
okay,
part, but you became a trainer, and I had no idea. Right, that's how big LA is. Like, people always go, "Do you know this trainer? Do you know that trainer?" It's like, no, no trainers actually know each other unless they're in your circle,
yeah,
right?
yes.
So I didn't even know you were doing that. You were right on the other side of town doing the same thing. We knew each other, and I had no idea. That's the
Yeah.
point
Oh,
I'm trying to
yeah.
bring up.
I did mostly in homes. I had some clients at the gym on Nemo. I had some clients at Workout Warehouse, Fitness Factory, whatever you want to call it. Pro Gym in Brentwood, Boulder Fitness. I'm naming all these things. People don't know what I'm talking about, but I
Okay, Pro Gym. I trained a lot of people at Pro Gym, and we never ran into each other.
that
How
yeah, that's
crazy is that?
crazy, because that was sort of the spot, right? That was like a super celebrity,
Yeah,
everybody who there was like
that's.
a
I
who's
mean, you was
who of
everybody.
it was a person, it was like a who's who of personal training.
Oh, I would tell people, they would say, "Hey, I want to go to Beverly." When family would come, "Oh, let's go to Beverly Hills. I want to see celebrities." It's like, no, no, no. Right out, because I lived right on Montana Street, right across from Pro
Hmm,
Gym when I
hmm,
moved to
hmm,
Brentwood,
hmm.
right? And that gym, by the way, was owned by Farrah Fawcett and what's his
Ryan
name,
O'Neill.
Ryan O'Neal. And I hated having to go in there, but whenever I had to bring a client in to get some quick weight off of them, and they didn't have a gym at home, I would just bring them in
Hmm,
there, and spent years going
hmm.
in there and never ran into
Can't.
you. How
Yeah, I
crazy
must
is that?
have. I don't know. 10 years. I had clients in and out of that place, and
Wow.
yeah, and it was fun. It was a fun place. I mean, you saw everybody. You saw like who. Yeah, Gary Shandling. What's the big producer's name? Who did? What's his name? I can't remember. Movie
Movie.
producer. Also, it'll come to me. Sofia Vergara. She
Yeah,
was
she was.
there.
Yeah,
Cindy
she was
Cindy
there. I
Cindy
met her
Crawford.
often there. Cindy
Um,
Crawford. Yeah. Yeah.
Ryan O'Neill. Anyway, yeah. It was, everyone was super cool too. They weren't full of themselves. No one gave it anybody a hard time. I just
Yeah.
burned out. I mean,
No,
I did it continue, as we were talking the other day, continuously, no break. It was, I was all in to the fitness business, and it really burns you out. I have to say, when you do it morning,
yeah.
noon, and night, holidays, even when you're sick and injured, nothing will make you burn out faster than doing something that just, oh my God, it's exhausting. And you get yourself out of bed at the crack of dawn in the dark, and you go, and I did have some difficult clients myself. I mean, I won't name names, but I had some doozies, pain in the asses.
Yeah, I think we all did. There were some people that we would just hand off to each other, me and other
Hmm.
trainers. Um, I'm not going to mention names either. I wrote a whole book without mentioning one real
Hmm.
name in the book. Um, but yeah, you're dealing with personalities and strong personalities and everything else. And I've often said that I think working that hard, I started in 83 and went clean through like 2017. I think that's how I ended up with cancer in '07. I just wore myself down so much,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? Between all the cycling and
Hmm.
all that stuff and doing all those races and just training people around the clock,
Around the
and
clock, and you have to be available around the clock. But because people,
yeah,
there are people who want to train at 5:30, 6 in the morning. There are people that want to train after work
yeah.
at night or on weekends or on holidays. It is you got to be on it and available, and you've got to be on. Like you can't bring in your shit. You got to be happy and up and right? Always got to come in with a good attitude. And I mean, there were times when I was going through very personal hard times, and it was tough showing up and with a smile on my face. But you did it.
You can never. I'm so glad you're talking about this because you can never bring you into it. And like if I had a client at 6 in the morning, I would be up at 4:15, and everyone would say to me, "Why so early? Why don't you just roll out of bed?" It's like, no, you can't look like you just rolled out of bed. When you walk
Hmm.
in, no matter, your girlfriend broke up with you, you have a temperature, you got none of that matters. You walk in at the prices we were charging, you had to be
Right.
on. You just had to be spot effing on or you're out. That's why when these kids, people call me all the time and say, I want to be a fitness trainer. I always say to them, do not think, number one, people don't make what they used to make. Number two, don't think it's an easy job where you put on a pair of shorts and you get to go hang out in the gym. You got to show results. If you don't show results, you're out. That's why I know you were a good trainer, Trevor, because you you're only as good as your last client, right?
Hmm.
And if they don't get results, you can hang you can have billboards up on Sunset Boulevard. You're not going to get one client, not one.
Yeah.
You're only as good as your last client,
Right. Right.
right?
Yes.
Yeah,
It's you want results. You want people to look good and achieve their goals because they are your calling cards. They are out there in the world. They are your PR, and
yeah,
you want people talking highly of you. And oh yes, Treva, I lost 10 pounds with her. I got into the best shape of my life, and I can't recommend her enough. And
yeah,
there were some clients that were not compliant, that were non-compliant, that were lazy or not disciplined, and it was tough because again, like I don't want people out there saying, "Well, she couldn't get the job done." I mean, I expect if you're paying the kind of prices that we ask for, right? Um,
right.
the only thing I the only thing I asked of a client in return was to help me help them. So, do your part. Don't stuff your face. Don't do things that are going to undo all the good stuff that we do together because it's just going to make my job harder and it's going to make your journey that much longer. So, work
Yeah,
with me. I never got into anybody's diet or nutrition. I kind of left that to other types of professionals. I just came in
right.
and changed their wiring
Oh, somehow Trevor
and
has locked
worked
up.
my
Let's
worked
see if
my
she comes
magic,
back.
and I got them to where they wanted to be.
And that's all it really takes. People always, people would ask me, they would take me for coffee, right? Kings Road Cafe was always my favorite. I would never go to a Starbucks. I would go to "Hey, let me take you for coffee. Meet me at Kings Road Cafe." And they would sit there and go, how do you become a good trainer? How do you get celebrity clients? That was the thing. Everyone wanted to know how you get celebrity clients. And I would say, do good work. And they would go, no, 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 yeah, yeah, I do good work. How do you get, it's like, just do good work. And it's like, yeah, yeah, I get that. It's like, no, you're not hearing me. you're not going to get celebrities on day one. You have to do good work with lay people, and then you'll get
Right.
celebrities. That's the way it works, not the other way around. So you were doing that for the better part of 20 years. And then you transitioned into becoming a life coach. And that's where the questions that I don't understand that we're going to start answering right now. But we're going to do two things before we do that. The first thing is I'm going to do a quick ad for Villa Capelli olive oil. Folks, Villa Capelli has been with us for well over 10 years. I was talking about this company well before they paid me a dime. Why Villa Capelli? Well, it's simple. They make the best olive oil on the planet. Now, listen, in this country, you could cut olive oil up to 10. What am I talking about? 40%. It could be 40% seed oils, which means when you put that much seed oil into an olive oil, now you got to add flavor back. So you got to dummy that up and put a perfume in it. And then you have to add a colorant. Folks, don't do that. You don't want to drink seed oils. You want Villa Capelli, the best olive oil on the planet. It gives you that pull you pinch. Now, you want to save a few bucks? At checkout, put in promo code Vinnie, V-I-N-N-I-E, no wimpy Y, V-I-N-N-I-E for 10% off. And wait, there's more. If you spend more than $125 after the discount, so let me do the math, spend about 140 bucks minus 10%, you're still above 125, free shipping. Now think about that. Very prudent. You buy a 3-liter thing of olive oil, that's damn near what? It's damn near a gallon in US SAE, right? So that's a lot of weight, which means it would cost a lot of money. You want to save that. So get some herbs de la Provence, get everything they have at Villa Capelli and put in that promo code, get it to 140 bucks. And Bob is your uncle. We're talking to Treva Brandon Scharf, who wrote a great book, and she's done a lot with her life. The book is, put it in the middle there, Done Being Single. Now, Treva, I said we were going to do two things on this break. One was we were going to do an ad for Villa Capelli. And two, we're going to bring alcohol out because you and I decided that we can't do this podcast without drinking. So I have a scotch here.
I have tequila.
And you have tequila.
Yes.
So pour. Let's get a little pour going in your, without spilling any. There you
go. And as the glass says, I don't know if you guys can read it, but it says L'chaim motherfuckers.
Yeah. So cheers, L'chaim.
I'm not going to shoot this. I'm going to sip it.
No, that's a sipping tequila. You know, folks.
Yeah, this is the good shit. We got this in Mexico.
Oh, well, they know something about tequila. We decided that we couldn't do this show straight. We're two people who haven't spoken to each other in 30 years. Now, the first thing I want to say is this happens to me often. And you guys have always heard me talk about my favorite book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I've read it more times than anyone else on the planet.
Read it?
How many times you figured you've read it? Have you read it more than once?
For sure once, maybe once and a half, but someone gave it to me. Someone a very successful person gave it to me and credited his success and massive wealth to this book. And I thought, what the hell? I have nothing to lose. And I swear to you, it changed my life. It really did.
Yeah, now listen, we didn't, Treva and I did not talk about this before the show. I just brought it up. Now, Treva, what you don't know is I read it for the first time when I was 13 years old. And when I got to the end of the book, I was in a body cast. You know, that's why I walked the way I walk in the morning. I was in a body cast from a football injury. I got to the end of the book and I went, damn, I must have missed a page when they were talking about how to think and grow rich. Mm-hmm. So I started over on chapter 1 and read it again. And it wasn't until the second time when I realized the message was on every page. And over the years, I probably read it 15, 20 times over my life. And then when Audible became a thing, I just bought it on Audible. And now this year, part of one of my New Year's resolutions is I'm listening to it on loop again this year. Yeah. Right. And people will go, well, Vin, you're a pretty successful guy. I say, yeah. But I find a nugget in that book. Every time I read it, I find a brand new nugget. and it never gets old. And I can't tell you the number of people who write to me and say, man, I read that book because of you, and because of you, A, B, C, and D happened, right? Now, he talks a lot about transmutation in the book, the whole book, all the books that came after it, all of these help gurus took the information that Andrew Carnegie gave to Napoleon Hill, and now you're like The Secret and all of that BS is all written off of this book. And I really believe in transmutation. I know that makes me sound woo-woo, and I'm not. I'm a guy who grew up on a bayou. We believe in things like voodoo, not woo-woo. So
That's good.
the bottom line, you see what alcohol does to me, Trevor? So the bottom line is out of the blue, I mentioned to my friend Nancy Wolfson about a month ago, I said, have you kept up with Trevor at all? She goes, no, I don't know. I even said, what was her last name? I couldn't really even think. I said, come on, Trevor, the guy who remembers everything. I was like stumbling on your last name. And she goes, Trevor Brandon, idiot. And like 3 weeks later, Chris sends me a message. Hey, this woman's looking for you. And you never spoke to Nancy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's the universe bringing people
That's
together.
right.
It's all it is.
That's right.
Right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
if that makes me sound like I'm, sniffing fairy dust or something, I guess it does. But that happens to me a lot in my life. I think it, and then it happens.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's a beautiful thing. It happens to me all the time. It's almost like you and I were vibing on the same wavelength, vibrating on the same wavelength, right? And I also, the concept of things happening when you least expect it is also really huge, particularly in my space, in the dating space. But that's true too. Things tend to happen, good things tend to happen when you least expect it.
So do you say your age,
Yes.
Trevor? Do we talk about that?
Yes.
Okay. So Trevor and I are both 61 years old, except she doesn't look it, and I look like I'm 70. But Trevor, it seems diabolical that you did not fall in love and end up in a relationship, a loving relationship, and married until you were 51. Yet you give advice on dating.
Yes.
So take me through. You were a trainer, you became a life coach, and then you married these things together. Explain to me what you're doing and how you came about this.
Well, so the fitness thing, as I was explaining, kind of sort of ran its course, and I was good at it. I got results. I was successful. I'd left it all on the table. I had nothing left to prove, and just sort of a confluence, sort of the perfect storm of events was happening. I was going through menopause. My parents were sick and eventually died right at the beginning of the pandemic, and then the pandemic hit. And the year before that, I had just kind of, I don't know what possessed me to get my life coaching credentials, but something possessed me to do that. So, and again, this is sort of like the universe kind of, I guess, prepares you or puts you onto certain paths, and at the time you don't know why, and you don't know why you're being called to do certain things. But okay, so I got my life coaching credentials, and then the shit hit the fan, and then I thought,
Go back.
Okay,
wait, hang on. I'm not letting you go that easy. Now, folks, look, Trevor, we're heard by hundreds of thousands of people. We get millions of downloads per month. Not everyone lives in Beverly Hills. There are people in Peoria going, what the fuck is a life coach?
Okay. So
what does this mean? And also, wait, hang on. Wait, this one. How do you get credentials for the, if you said doula to a guy in Memphis, he's going to go, what? A doula? A life coach? These are terms that are in Beverly Hills and not really all over the place. Maybe New York, maybe Oregon in certain spots, Ashland. Explain what a life coach is and how you get credentials to do that and what you actually do.
Okay. So, as I interpret or define life coaching to be is someone who is an accountability coach, someone who is your motivation mentor, not exactly a little bit of a therapist, but a lot of what I did as a trainer. Okay, so a lot of encouragement. um, I'm there to get them to their goals, whatever their goals are, and mostly it's they can't. They're stuck, okay, or they're blocked, or they've put up obstacles, and they have things they want to do, and goals and dreams and hopes and things that they want to get done, and they just can't. They just can't get out of their own way. Sometimes they want to switch jobs. Sometimes they want to just change it up. So then you can go online. There's a ton of different accreditation programs, but the one I went to was the International Coaching Federation. And then I went through their program and I got certified. And I found that my wheelhouse, because I'd spent so many years as a single person, that was sort of my jam. That was sort of my sweet spot. And
Right.
I felt like I think I can help them date. And I know that sounds crazy to some people because dating is most of the times it's just second nature, right? It should come so naturally to people. It's dating. Everybody does it, right? We all know how to do it. Well, you know what? No, actually, no. Some people can't, are afraid. They are stuck, much like with any other project. Can't get off the ground, can't get going, don't have the confidence, don't have the resilience, can't handle rejection. It's all a muscle. It's all muscle. And that's how I sort of see things dating through the lens of fitness. And so I just kind of married, no pun intended, all those years of being single with all those years of being in the fitness business. And it worked. And I bring something to my practice that nobody else has. 50 years of being single and 50 years of being an athlete, and pretty much, either being coached as an athlete or being an athlete and a fitness professional.
Okay, so I I asked you yesterday when we were on the phone. You know, you look at Trevor. If anyone watches the YouTube video, you go, wait a minute, this gorgeous woman. How does this woman go 50 years without some guy tackling her and saying, and it's still my question. I would have thought that I was shocked that you were still on the market when you and I dated at 30 or 30, I guess 94, 30. We were 32 at the time
Mm-hmm.
watching Forrest Gump. I mean, so look, I know how to woo a chick. I bring him to Forrest Gump,
Oh, you
right?
got game,
You
Vinny.
would think, oh yeah, I
You
know how
do.
to
I
get
just
the
want to
bait.
say, for the record, all the women out there and guys listening, Vinny has such natural charm and charisma. He doesn't really have to try that hard, and I think that's one of the reasons why I liked you so much, is that you are just your authentic self.
Now I got to drink because I can't listen to good things about myself.
Okay,
It's
I'll
weird.
drink with you.
Yeah, but
Mm-hmm.
all right. So you were on the market. I'm going to be honest. I met you. Like I said, I got an agent and a date on the same day. I was shocked that you were, number one, not married. You were available, and you were you were willing to go out with me. It was like I was doubly shocked. I was like, "Oh, this really cool looking, really beautiful chick." I mean, how did you make it to 32 without some guy just tackling you and going? See, my problem back then was, and I'm guessing it's why we didn't end up together. I had all the confidence in the world to ask anyone out, but I felt like I didn't have the money to carry on with the relationship, right? I thought people would see through me and go, "Oh, this guy's living in an apartment. He doesn't own a house. he doesn't, I felt like I wasn't settled, right? I was still trying to make it.
Yeah,
And my feeling was always, once I make it, then, everything is going to be perfect, right?
sure.
And life just doesn't happen that way. But I think I was the bigger part of walking away from women before they got disappointed by me, because I looked good at the beginning. I looked great on paper, right? Oh, he's funny, he's witty, he's fairly good looking, he can make me laugh, all the things women love. But then it's like, wait, don't peek behind that curtain, because I don't want you to see the real me. I don't want you to see the kid that grew up on the bayou, like Huck Finn, who scrambled to go to college, who his parents don't have a pot to pee in or a window to throw it out of. No one was leaving me money. No one was there was nothing, right? It was just me. And I didn't feel like anyone, I didn't have a self-worth past knowing that I could get a date. What would you tell a guy like me today, a 32-year-old Vinny, as a life coach, as a dating coach? What would you tell me?
Well, first of all, who knows who they are at 32 years old? So I would say give yourself a break and stop beating yourself, because it took me 50 years to know who I was and what I wanted. So again, we're all on our own timeline. It's all relative. Okay, so to compare yourself to others is it's a losing battle, and it's only going to make you feel shittier about where you are in life. So that's number one. We all bloom when we're supposed to. And I am a late bloomer, and I wrote a book about it. Um, I would say to you that the feelings you had were normal, and that's your own projection. You projected that, you put a negative narrative on those feelings. When in reality, what you were feeling, those insecurities, are actually quite charming and attractive and compelling, because they're human and they're you. And, yes, there's something to be said for confidence, but it's overrated, everybody. I need you to hear me. Confidence is kind of overrated. Being your authentic self, leaning into your insecurities, owning your baggage, owning your pain and suffering, to me is so much more compelling than some sort of false confidence. I always found the shyest guys and the nerdiest guys to be the sexiest. I liked an insecure.
Interesting.
I liked an insecure guy. They were sweet and real, and I didn't. Look, you lived here. You know what kind of bullshit there is. Okay, I saw it. I lived around it. I went to school with it. I dated it. Money never did anything for me, but I can understand the pressure for people to be of a certain status. And particularly now, there's so much pressure, right? With social media, we all see these impossible, unrealistic, uh, characterizations of men and women that are impossible. It's fake and false, and it does us no good at all. So that's what I would say to a young Vinny. That's what I'd say to any of my clients at any age, is to particularly as you get older, you've been around a while. You've probably had some setbacks and some suffering, and right, some disappointments, and maybe a divorce under your belt, and some whatever crises. Those are all great. They give you depth. They give you character. What's sexier than that?
Well, look, I mean, is it? I'm thinking through this while you're talking. It's like, is it possible that Trevor and I were in exactly the same place at the same time? Young, somewhat successful, good-looking people who had no confidence to go past a few dates. Right? We didn't have the infrastructure to go past those couple of days. I'm thinking about it. I never thought about it back then. I'm guessing I looked at you and went, okay, she went to Beverly Hills High School, which they do TV shows about that, right? And her parents own Commercials Unlimited. Her mom owns she works for the mom. There's no way this mom is going to invite a Cajun from the bayou to dinner.
Yeah,
You know, I probably had
that was you. That was your own projection.
right.
You didn't know. You had this whole story made up in your head.
It's exact. It was exact. I'm thinking through it now. It was exactly made up. It's like, oh man, I asked this girl out. I never thought she was going to say yes. She said yes. I'm on a tightrope and there's no net, right? I'm white knuckling the tightrope, you know, the bar you have in your hand, and I'm like, how do you hang on to this? And the answer is you don't. You don't hang on to it. You let it go,
Yes,
right?
yes.
You don't even try with this girl because how do you go to a Beverly Hills? It's like, what if I pick up the wrong fork at dinner or whatever the thing might be, right? It's almost these people are better than me. You know, that's the feeling. And some of that feeling probably came from Tulane because I was there on a football scholarship and I was dating nothing but Jewish girls from Shaker Heights and, you know, Long Island and everywhere else. And I knew that they loved dating me, but they didn't mention me to mommy,
Well,
right?
that's too bad.
So there was some subtext there, right? It was like I'm good enough for fucking, but I ain't good enough for mommy, right? We can't tell mommy about a guy named Vinny from the bayou, right? So there's probably a lot of that was going through my head.
Yeah, well, that
Is
again,
that,
that's a false
oh, it is, of
story.
course.
Um, no, that it didn't work out between us had nothing to do. And I'm telling you, don't take it personally, because you were great.
Oh, I don't.
Yeah,
I don't.
and you asked me a question. How was I not? What was the word you used? Tackled, tackled.
Yeah,
Okay,
tackled.
yeah,
Especially
okay.
you when you were 23, and wait, you're mine. I mean, how do you make it to 51?
Because and I was tackled. I was tackled and I tackled. I loved and I lost. I dumped and I was dumped. You know, uh, it just wasn't time. It you got to respect sort of the order of things, and you may not like it. It may
Right.
take a long time, and you may be impatient. And living in this digital culture we're in right now doesn't do you any favors in terms of your patience levels, because everybody is wants instant gratification, right? So and there's so much competition and so much comparison and so much out there that to make you feel like you're inadequate and you're behind or you're not good enough and all that crap, right? It's coming at you like a faucet every day on social media. You just have to, follow your calling, your vibe, your, I don't know what you'd call it, the natural, your biorhythm. I don't know I don't know. I don't know why it took so long, but it's not for lack of trying, and it wasn't for lack of dating. I dated a lot, a lot. I met great guys. I dated, for the most part, great guys, Vinny.
Yeah.
And it wasn't their fault. I just wasn't ready. And then when I was ready, I was in my 40s when I felt like, okay, it's time to get the show on the road, right? The bell
Yeah.
went off, the biological clock sounded, and then I was SOL because most of the guys I was meeting and dating were kind of just coming out of their first marriages, and I wanted to get married, and my timing was lousy. And so
Yeah.
I had to suffer through my 40s, and that's a whole shit show. And then I hit 50, and I finally met the guy that I married when I least
And the guy.
and by the way, when I least expected it. Okay, so when you talk about letting go, right?
Yeah.
There's great power in letting go. There is as much power in letting go as there is there's much strength required to let go as there is to hold on for dear life. To release that death grip, right, is scary,
Yeah.
but it is so freeing and it's so liberating. And that is what I did. So when I finally kind of let go, I met him.
And you met a guy 51 years old. You were 51. And it turns out that you knew that guy most of your life, or at least knew of him, right?
No, we went to the same high school.
Okay.
He's 6 years older. We were friends on Facebook. That's how we originally caught each other's eye, because we're in this kind of high school community and tons of mutual friends. And that's kind of how we became acquainted. And then I turned 50. I threw a big party for myself because I thought I wasn't going to ever get married. I was never going to have a wedding. So, okay, I'll throw a big party, a 50th birthday party for myself, and invite tons of people. And I invited him. And he showed up. And then we went on a date the following week. And 6 months later, we got engaged. And I should mention that he was 57 at the time and also never been married. So I sort of married my male counterpart.
Folks, if you want to see a gorgeous, and I do mean gorgeous photo, find Trevor Brandon Scharf online. You could just put in Trevor Brandon Scharf. She's in a vintage Bob Mackie wedding gown.
Yeah.
That is, you looked absolutely stunning. That
Thank
it
you.
is, it took my breath away.
Thank
I'm
you.
just going to be honest.
Thanks.
Because after we spoke, of course, I went and Googled you. Should have Googled you before, but that's just not what I do. Let me Google Trevor and see what she's up to. And that picture popped up, and my God, look at this woman. Did I get it right? Was it a Bob Mackie?
It was
a
Bob
vintage
Mackie.
Bob Mackie.
Yeah, it was my stepmother's. It was something, something borrowed, something blue, something old, something. That was my something borrowed.
Yeah,
Yes.
you did the whole thing.
Yeah.
So you borrowed the wedding,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it fit you like a glove.
Thanks.
Yeah, that was just amazing. If you want to know who Bob Mackie is, back when Cher used to be at the Oscars every year, and she would do like 5 different costumes at the out, she would just keep. It was all Bob Mackie stuff. The guy was a
Yes.
big deal back
He was a big time costumer.
Yeah. Okay. I want to switch gears a little bit because I have nephews, and I talk to my nephews, and I'm amazed at how dating happens nowadays. The swipe right, swipe left. I famously talked on this podcast a lot about one night sitting in a gastropub in Woodland Hills. My wife was doing a play, and I was doing all my social media, and I looked up, and the place had filled up. It must have been ladies' night or something. There was a bunch of beautiful young women there, just gorgeous, and a bunch of really good-looking dudes that looked like they just came from work at some real estate company out in Calabasas. And it's like, wait a minute. If I were those guys, I would be hitting on those girls big time. Now, is hitting on still a word you can use, or is that a Me Too word, or can you still say that? I'm being serious.
I guess it's a little frowned upon, unfortunately, because I'm a big fan of being hit on, and I'm a huge fan of flirting, which, by the way, is an art form that I fear is going the way of the pterodactyl. I know what you're getting at. These guys were probably on their phones and not looking up to see what was right in front of their face, right?
That's exactly what was going on. And I talked about it the next day on the podcast. It was like, these good-looking guys, these gorgeous women, and they're looking at their phone, and everyone said, "Oh, you idiot!"
Yeah,
they were swiping right and left, and I still don't know what it means. I get the concept, I guess.
yeah.
Right? So how do you navigate that as a coach?
Okay, so I have very mixed emotions. I have a very love-hate relationship with dating apps.
Okay.
I can't altogether discount them because a lot of my clients have met people on apps, but I am a huge fan of meeting IRL in real life. And I am a little worried about this younger generation that only knows a world of online dating, because if you want to put it in terms of muscle and working a muscle, we all know what happens when you don't use it. You lose it, it atrophies, and it just becomes that much harder to get going again. And so there is a degree of practice that you have to keep out there. And yes, it's a little bit of post Me Too where you got to tread lightly. You have to kind of approach and almost say, I come in peace. I mean, if you're going to guys, if you're going to approach a woman in the wild, as they say, you almost have to kind of disclaimer or like a little preemptive, non-threatening. I'm not, I know this is not sort of what we're supposed to do these days. I know this is a little bit like not PC, but I have to tell you, I find you very attractive. I think
Would you have
if you're
qualified?
gonna step up, if you see an attractive woman, and I'm gonna say something to the women after I make this point. If you see a
Okay.
cute girl and you really want to know who she is and you really want to get her number, you would step up and say cautiously, you say, I know this is probably, not, this is frowned upon, but I am going to just tell you that I find you very attractive. I hope you don't mind. Come approach in a non-threatening way.
Would you have to qualify that to the woman? I know
Yes,
this
you
is frowned
do.
upon.
Yes, because it
Really?
is. Because women are unfortunately so used to being harassed that any guy that now comes up to her is going to be perceived as some kind of like creep or predator, and that is a shame. Because back in our day, that's all you had. You had to make a move. You had to step up. Now you don't have to. Now you can just sit with your phone behind a screen and let your thumbs do all the work for you. Which again, okay, if this is the way the world's going, we got to get with it, right? We can't not do it. But I just would hate to see really old-fashioned sort of courtship die, and I fear that that's what's happening. If you don't use it, you're going to lose it. It's going to atrophy. It requires practice. It requires some guts. It
Right.
requires some balls. But there is nothing that replaces real face-to-face chemistry and vibe. Nothing. You can see a cute chick online, but man, when you see this person, again, when you least expect it, and there's something beautiful about that gets lost when it's behind a screen, when it's on an app. Now, for the women, ladies, we are living in a very guarded world. We're living in a post Me Too world, and you're going to have to step up a little bit. You're going to have to step up. You're going to have to sometimes make the first move, and that is okay. Okay, for those of us of a certain age, that used to be frowned upon. We would never talk to a guy first, right?
Oh,
Anybody of a certain age knows what I'm talking about. It was like the old time you dropped your hanky, right? If you wanted to signal that you were available and interested, you just sort of batted your eyes and you smile. And guess what? That's still the case. So yes, you can absolutely send signals and cues. Smile, make eye contact, and
people.
say to a guy, "Hi," start up a conversation. Say hello, say good morning. It doesn't make you a weirdo.
Trevor, back in my day, my buddies thought I had a very high track record. When we went out to bars, and it's like it's like now I just sit back and look around, and you make eye contact with 20 different women. One or two women will make eye contact back and pretty much let you know with their eyes, please come over and say hi. Right? They would just do that. You just have to be smart enough to know which ones are doing that. And then you go strike up a conversation. It doesn't mean you're going to end up with a date or anything else, but at least they're saying, yes, please come over
Yes,
in a weird sort of way. Right. And you could go over and have a 5 or 10 minute conversation and decide whether you want to buy them a drink and continue the conversation or say, it was nice meeting you. I'm going to get back with my buddies or whatever you would say. Right. And you're telling me all right, let's say Serena was, God forbid, not in the picture. And I had to meet someone. And of course, I'm not going to go out to a bar or anything, but, I'm going to be in the meat department at a grocery store. right? And there's going to be a woman there who's between 58 and 63 or 65. And if we catch eyes, I'm going to say hi to her, but I have a feeling that that woman falls under the old edict of thank you for saying hi to me, and we can make a connection. But when I talk to my nephews and they say to me, how do I meet women? And I'll say, I don't know, go to a Starbucks or something, hang out with your computer like everyone else, pretend you're writing something.
Yes.
And, you know, and they'll say, if you walked up, I had a nephew literally tell me this last week. He goes, if I walk up to a woman at Starbucks, she might slap me or she might call the cops. And I was flabbergasted by that. It's like, what are you talking about? He's like,
Mhm.
you don't just walk up to women. I'm like, in what world did this change? And why did it? And I get the Me Too thing, but is it really still that bad? Are you hearing this from clients? What's going on?
Um, yes, it is that. I guess it's that bad. It breaks my heart that it's that bad because you and I, again, we just did it. We just talked. And I think, though, because everyone's so guarded, we have to comply with the new rules of dating. And as much as we don't like it, and by the way, these younger people don't know what we're talking about, obviously.
Right.
They only know a certain way of dating. And my hope is that they get so sick and tired of it that they give up and the pendulum swings the other way, and that, people are going to put down their phones and start to look up and look at people. But yeah, there's a lot of fear out there, and I will say that it does take balls to approach a woman. Nobody likes rejection, and I think women have to be a little more understanding of this and a little bit more cooperative and collaborative. It's hard, to you're risking that, right? It's for a guy to approach you. Be the least you can do is make it a little easy for him. Even if you're not interested, be gracious, say thank you, give him the signals that you're not interested. And guys, you got to get good at picking up the signals. If she looks away, or if she doesn't look at you at all, or, that's your sign to move on. So yes, it's going to require both sides, both genders, to work together to make it a little easier for each other if we want to continue the species, for lack of a better way of putting it, because it's harder. It's getting harder and harder, and there's all kinds of sociological studies with around declining marriage rates and declining birth rates, and which is all really fascinating to me. There's just a lot of anger out there. There's a lot of resentment. The Me Too movement was great. It had to happen, but I think it's gone too far in a lot of ways. It's dangerous. It ruins people's lives. People are careless with it, and then it's really and then other times,
Yeah.
and
People
other
got Carol. Yeah.
yes. So and the level of hostility, and I can't explain it, out in the dating world is, wow, it's really something else. And I read a lot, and I'm in all up in,
Hostility. Explain the hostility.
uh, women are, every guy's a creep to a woman, and every woman is a gold digger to a guy. They all have, talk about expectations. They look at Instagram, and who can measure up to that? The guys
No
are
one.
the guys are complaining about how the women only want the highest earners, and the women are complaining about the guys who only want the best looking, and the apps are skewed only for the best looking. They're all behind a paywall, which is really kind of insulting and sad. Um, I mean, we could go on and on about what it's really toxic out there, and there's a lot of anger and oppression. I would also add in feminism has been a bit of a little problem when you're trying to date. Um, the whole the dating dynamics have completely shifted. So now women kind of have to take the roles of the men because men are too afraid, and who can blame them?
Well, they're not afraid. I mean, you can go to jail for asking a girl for a number,
Well,
right?
that's not right, but that's not right. And,
Right.
and,
So
and I'm,
you can't blame the guys, right? There's been open season on men now for a few years for whatever reason.
yes, but it's been open season on women for millennia. So, I
Right.
hate to say this.
Neither is right.
You know,
Neither is right.
no, neither. And it's, come on, we're past payback, people. Okay. Stop with the mutual oppression and the payback. And no, love does not work that way. Love is not the enemy. Guys aren't, women aren't. You're going to have to come together. Everyone's going to have to lay down their swords and get a little bit more forgiving, have a little more grace, a little more compassion, a little bit more understanding and tolerance and patience. That will save the day. And I will tell you that I have clients of all ages, and I hear the same story in different variations. Whether you're 60 or whether you're 30, it's the same sort of deal. And it's
Really? So
except the younger people tend to have an overabundance of ego, whereas the older people tend to kind of struggle with it. They don't have enough ego.
yeah, I couldn't imagine being in a dating world. Hang on, quick break here, and I want to finish up by talking about the book, how it came about, what we can find chapter to chapter, and that sort of thing, and we'll leave everyone with the book, folks. Listen, everyone's been asking me when I will open up again on the VIP group. We will do it probably, don't quote me, maybe late May, maybe June. But if you want to be in a VIP group, put your name in now, vinnytortorich.com/VIP. It's an accountability group. Everyone that's in the group loves the group. You want to be part of this group. We keep you accountable twice a month. I'm kind of like Trevor. I'm a life coach, but with fitness. So if you want to be in a VIP group where it's not open, people have been begging me, let me in, let me in, let me in. It's not fair for me to let people in when I say, when it opens, you have to come in. When I close it, it's closed again. We will open it again, probably late May, maybe early June. I haven't decided yet, but put your name in, vinnytortorich.com/VIP. Go do that right now before you forget. We're talking to Trevor Brandon Scarf.
Sharp.
I want to say Scarf is Sharf, and she's written a book. I have not read the book yet. Usually I say, hey, I've read the book. Go get the book. I haven't read it yet, but I will read it. Trevor, tell me why I need to read this book. Why will I find this interesting? Give me a chapter by chapter. What made you write this book?
Great question. And hold on, I need to plug in because I'm losing
You're
juice.
plugging.
I got to plug
Okay.
in. Hang on.
We're looking at a chair. It's a pretty chair. It's a leopard print. There's some abstract art right behind the chair.
Hang on.
Here she comes. She walks from one room to another room. This is how it happens, folks. When you get old like us, people do weird
Yeah.
stuff. Okay.
Okay.
Are you all plugged in? Do you
I'm
have
plugged.
juice now?
I got juice, babe. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Okay, the book. Let's talk
Yes.
about the book.
Yeah. Okay. So yes. So here it is for those who can't see. Done Being Single, a late bloomer's guide to love. When I got engaged, long story short, I started a blog, and I had a ton of blog posts, and the blog turned into a podcast, which I have with my husband called Done Being Single. And something, I don't know, possessed me to write a book. And I thought, I got a book in me. I have all these blog posts. I have all these stories. I have all these experiences, all these dates. And I don't know, I just felt it was time to put something down that was forever, and kind of what makes this different than, it's not just a dating book. It's not just a dating advice book. because I draw on so much of my experience from the fitness business and being a
Mhm.
coach, right? It's really self-help. It's really a self-help memoir. So it's my life with a ton of experiences and stories and what I learned and how just everything I got along the way. And I share it. I share it with the readers. It's all out there, all my tips and takeaways and secrets, and it's all there.
Well, folks, you want to go get the book. I haven't read it yet, but I'm telling you to go get the book. I will read the book. I'm going to probably read it. Well, let me think about when can I read this? Oh, I know when. I have to go to Louisiana in about 2 weeks, and that book is going to be with me on that trip, and it'll give me time to hang out and read it, and I'm looking forward to it. It's probably around the time this podcast is going to come out. Um, Trevor, you can't be a stranger. We went 30 years without talking, and I feel like I've been introduced to an old friend again. And what a joy it's been for me for the past 2 days to connect with you.
Thank you. Thank you. I feel the same way. Something in the universe sort of, right? Again,
Yeah,
with the idea that things happen for a reason. It's, if you think it kind of happens. Um, I totally believe in that. And yeah, see what happened? Somehow we mind melded.
yeah.
And I got your something, and now you got mine, and here we are. And thank you. And I got to say something. I knew you when, okay? And to see you now, I mean, you weren't what you make yourself out to be. Hardly. I'm so impressed. I mean, you had it. You had it back then. But the fact that you've gotten so successful, and I mean, it's really wonderful. I love it. I just love how you've blossomed and developed and evolved. It's fantastic.
Well, I've scratched and clawed my way right to the middle. It's it's a thing where, I left the bayou, right? I didn't know how when I read that book for the first time at 13, it all goes back to that book. I know people think that's crazy, but I read that book and I didn't know how to make it off of the bayou, right? And then all of a sudden, scholarship offers were coming in, and everyone thought I was going to go to LSU, which is right across the river from where I grew up, right? Baton Rouge was right across the river. I knew I would never really play that much at LSU. Um, Ole Miss, I thought about Ole Miss when I took a visit there. I saw the same guys chewing the same tobacco, spitting it out of the same F 150s. And when I went to Tulane, I went, wait a minute, this is different. This is my way. When you go somewhere and you go, this is my way off of the bayou, right? It was 65 miles away from where I grew up. That was it. I just had to get to New Orleans, right? And that was my first stepping stone. And then from New Orleans to LA, another stepping stone, and doing all the machinations, everything that happened had to happen for 30 years, meeting the right people
Yes.
and doing whatever, right? Until and look, I mean, yeah, documentaries, books. I have two books. I wrote a children's book, and vitamin companies, coffee companies, food company. I mean, it all happened, but it was a conscious effort to keep moving forward. And here I am at 61, going, what's next?
Yes.
What's the next thing? Um, I remember meeting famous the guy that did All in the Family.
Rob
The,
Reiner,
pro- no, the producer,
Norman Lear.
Norman Lear. I met Norman Lear. I used to do the Adam Carolla show all the time, and I was exiting, and Norman was taking my seat. We famously took a photo together, and I stayed and listened to his interview. I never stayed. I gave that seat up to every celebrity. I was always on the first half of the show. I was on for 100 shows. I would always give my seat up to a big celebrity, right? I was on for an hour and they would come on for an hour. But when Norman Lear, when I said, you know what? I'm going to stay and listen to this. and he must have been 94, 93, 92, in his 90s. And he was talking about how he's looking forward to the next project. And that it just clicked for me. I went, yeah, it never ends. You never stop. You just find the next project. You
Yes.
find the next thing you're passionate about, and you just keep going. People always ask me, Trevor, when I lose this 200 pounds, it's like, no. It's not about when you lose the 200 pounds. It's all about the journey. And that journey never ends. It's not like you're going to get from 375 down to 175 and then all of a sudden go, okay, I'm here. I can start eating like crap again and stop exercising. No, you took the journey back down to that weight. Now the journey is, how do I stay here? Right?
Yes.
It's always the journey. And
Yes.
that's the part.
This is why I don't like New Year's resolutions, because they set you up for failure. I much prefer little micro habits, little changes along the way that are sustainable, right?
Oh, I'm a big New Year's resolution
I,
person.
I am
And
not. Because I just think, I love thinking big, but then you kind of go out and then there's some incredible statistic that most people by like January 20 something, they've blown it already. I would
14.
rather, okay, right. So I kind of tell my clients just little micro steps, little micro habits add up. And just like training for anything, it adds up. I've run 5 marathons, and I do agree with you. It's not the destination, it's the journey. The training for marathons actually was better, almost more fulfilling than the actual race itself. I don't know why. I think because you change when you put your mind to something, and you see changes in your body, and suddenly you're becoming more disciplined and more structured, and it's sort of a beautiful thing. And then race day comes, and you're like, yeah, what's next, right? But everything you're talking about is so in my wheelhouse. It's so, you and I could talk for hours. My whole thing is helping people achieve their personal best in life and love. And I absolutely am with you all the way in terms of effort and action, because effort and action and hard work are everything. But you know what else is just as important? Acceptance and getting your head around the concept of randomness. Okay, so somewhere between human action and randomness, the intersection there is where the magic is, right?
Yeah.
Putting forth effort, do it, babe. Go, work hard, put yourself out there, get on the apps, go meet and do whatever you have to do. And then you let go. And then you kind of give it up and you go, okay, I'm going to see what comes to me. And that's a really important part of this. Everybody needs to understand the acceptance part, the surrender part. That will free you. And you will see just how your efforts will come back to you. It's a little bit of faith. It's a little bit, yes, you got to have some faith. But that definitely works into the formula, into the personal growth formula. And by the way, what you were talking about, Norman Lear, that's what's called a growth mindset.
Explain that.
That there is no limits, that there's no finite end to your goals, to your passion, to your projects, to your journey, that you feel and in your heart that there's more to come. If you want it, if you want to level up, if you want to keep going and growing, that's growth mindset. A fixed mindset, meanwhile, on the other hand, is a kind of a way of thinking that has limits already built in, that somehow your days are over, or you're too old, or you aged out, or it's over for you, or no, it's not. You're never too old. It's never too late. I say that all the time to my clients. Love is out there. Anything is out there if you want it.
It's
Really.
all out there for the
It's
taking.
kind
As
of
long
all
as
out there.
Yeah, it is. Ask me how many hours of aerobics I've done this year.
How many hours of aerobics have you done this year?
104 hours and 15 minutes. We're on day 93 of the year. I write it down every day.
Okay.
You see, since I'm not training for anything aerobically anymore, one of my several New Year's resolutions, you see, they're all small resolutions. I must complete 365 hours of aerobics by the end of the year. Now, within that, there's smaller goals. In other words, I can't skip a whole month and try to double up the next month. I have to do at least a number of hours per month that are the days in that month. Like there's 30 days in April. I have to do 30 hours of aerobics in April, right? I'll probably end up at 35 or 36 or whatever because I'm already 11 hours above for the year, right? So by the end of the year, at least 365. Every year I end up around 420, 430, something like that. But you see, since I'm not training for anything, it's easy to just go, I'll go to the gym and pump a little iron and that'll be it. You can see I have a rack behind, I have a gym. I'm sitting in a gym. I have a full gym right here in my house. It's all around me, right? And I have no excuse not to work out every day, not to stay in shape, right? So that's the crazy thing is if you make small goals and just fulfill those goals, right?
Yes.
By the end of the year, I got to have this much aerobics. I make weightlifting goals. I do it
Yes.
all. Goal
Okay.
oriented, all goals. And that's
Totally.
what
Yes.
people, when it comes to New Year's resolutions, don't go, I'm gonna, and then make the biggest, because usually people are making these proclamations when they're drunk, right? I start thinking about it about a month ahead of time and I jot it down. Oh, maybe I'll do this one. And then I'll pick like 5 or 6 of the 12 or 15 or 20 that I jot down. And then I go with those. Like listening to Napoleon Hill on loop is one of them,
Vinny,
right?
God bless your dedication and discipline. I mean, really, you're really an inspiration.
Oh,
Um, you
you're
really
going
no,
to,
you really are. You're living proof that at any age, we need people like you. That's great. I would also, though, remind people that you don't have to be training for anything. You don't have to be, so regimented, so locked into a certain
right.
schedule. And I mean, you can, but I would rather you be a little easier on your. See, I go a little bit the other way now. I'm a little. Maybe it's age. Maybe it's menopause. I don't know.
Right.
I want people to succeed. I don't want them to burn out. I want them to last. And to me, sometimes that requires a little more self compassion.
Yeah.
Maybe not being so hard on yourself. Maybe not having outrageous expectations. I want you to go the distance. So pacing is really important. Not killing yourself. I always say you can push yourself, just don't kill yourself, because that, I know when you're really hard on your body, because I have been at times,
Yeah.
that will just burn you out. And I don't care what it is you're doing in life. You want to go the distance. And you want to do it joyfully. You don't want to do anything that is going to be drudgery, dread, anything that's going to keep you alive. And this is where a coach comes in. Hello,
Yeah.
right? This is where the motivation comes in. When you're not into it and you don't feel like it and you give up hope and you're going to, throw in the towel. No, you've got someone like me that's giving you wind at your back and encouragement, because people will give up, and particularly after repeated rejections and repeated failures. Oh shit, nothing will blow the wind out of your sails faster than breakup, non-starter. It requires, if you're going to date, babe, it's going to take some fortitude. It's going to
Yeah.
take some discipline, some dedication. And I'm going to remind everybody, particularly to the guys, but you know what, to the girls as well. UCLA coach John Wooden, he famously said, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Yeah.
So you got to take your shot and just take a deep breath, step up, take your shot, and stay at it, whatever the goal is, whatever your journey is.
We will make that the final word. Trevor, tell everyone where they can find you.
You can find me at my website, which is www.trevabrandonsharf.com. Okay, so,
That
and then you
rolls
can
off,
follow, okay, sorry.
that rolls off the tongue.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a mouthful. TrevaBrandonSharf.com, and then you can follow me on Instagram at TrevaBme, TREVA, the letter B M E.
Trevor, hang on. I want to chat with you off the air. We're going to play a little something here at the end. Folks, you know what to do. We all go shopping on Amazon. Before you go to Amazon, go to VinnyTartaries.com. Click through the banner. It puts a little coal on the fire. It gets my train down the track. I'm able to keep the show free for about 11, almost 12 years now. So go do that. We have a super fan page. You can check it all out at VinnyTartaries.com. Trevor's book will be up on the Vinny Book Club on Amazon. So, just go check that out. I can't wait to read it because I love when I know a person personally and they have a book. I get a certain thrill out of that. It's like when Nina and all those people come on the show. It's like, oh my God, I actually know her. I'm so cool. At any rate, folks, I had two things I wanted to play at the beginning of this show, but I can only play one. So I'll play the box of chocolates thing. So we're going to end up with one of my favorite scenes in that movie from Forrest Gump. On behalf of Trevor Brandon Scharf, my name is Vinny Tartarich. Put life into living, and let's do it with Bubba